All right, all right, all right. What's happening, cuz?
Not much, man. How are you?
Doing wonderful, doing wonderful. Just had an incredible experience with one of our man. How long have we known Nick?
And I
Decade.
think we signed up for the his mastermind and his book deal, and was at an Infusion Con event, which would have probably been 2011, maybe 2011 or somewhere in
Then
there.
he spoke the next year at EGS.
Yep.
So that it probably 2011, then 2012, I think was when first time, and then did the book deal, and then he did Real, the documentary, right after that
Yep. Yep.
because we had recorded that before we had before I had moved down to Dallas, down to Texas, and we were just chatting. That was the second documentary he has ever done was the one with you and Mike. That was the second one,
Yep. They got a lot.
and
Yeah, it was good. He did a great job.
he does an incredible job. And we were chatting about it, and he just did the Dickie V. The Dickie V one is getting ready to come out, and he's just amazing. The connections that guy has and everything that he's been able to accomplish. He's definitely a special human being, and we get to see him every day, right, in the text accountability
Yep.
group. So I get to
Yep.
see his post every day. He is definitely he's inspiring how consistent he is, for sure.
Absolutely. Good
Absolutely.
dude.
Real good. So cool, man. So we got shareholders coming up. Looking forward to that as well. Man, gonna be an incredible couple days. What are you most excited about coming into Orlando, coming into shareholders?
Well, man, they do a really good job of saving some things for for that event. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we got coming. They're always working on stuff that better in the company, making things better for the agents. So I'm excited to see what they haven't told us.
Yeah, I mean, I remember might have been the very first shareholders that we went to in Orlando. I know our first experience was Fort Lauderdale, which was EXPCon in what was that, September of 17? Jeez.
Yep.
That just feels like it was not even a year ago. So that was 2017. And I just, that experience that we had, at lunch that Gove put together, you and I being able to sit right across from Glenn and Jason and really listen to Glenn share the vision of EXPI. And I'll never forget, he said, "Hey, we're going to be, real estate transactions will be what books are to Amazon in the future, is what EXPI will be." And I've been thinking about that the last couple of weeks, I guess, kind of just heading into shareholders, kind of thinking about it and thinking about, when you see vision and think about vision, but think about, people that maybe are like younger generation, newer to Amazon. Like, you don't think of Amazon as a book company.
No.
At all. So when you look at what, Glenn and really executing in the vision that he has, and I think it was maybe the very first shareholders. I just remember I was sitting in the audience. I remember texting you. I was like, "This mofo is executing exactly what he told us he was going to do." I'll never forget. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, he is everything he said is happening.
Yep. Yep.
I know you've had the opportunity to spend some time with him. It was what year was that? He came in and he watched the Big 12 championship game with us down in Dallas.
I guess that was like 3 or 4 years ago. 3 years
ago. It was
ago.
Kyler's last year.
Yeah.
And so I know you've had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time with him. What really for you, kind of stands out in that visionary leadership role as you have kind of got to know him over the years?
And he really is the way he thinks about things is just different. Like he's He's not conventional at all in the way he thinks about things. He's always looking for ways to break the mold of whatever generally is what is thought about it, and how do we think about it differently. That's one thing for sure. And he's consistently running things through the framework of, is this better for the agents? Is this better for the agents? And so it's that singular focus of trying to make everything better for the agent that makes a great company for agents. And so I think that's unique, especially at the level that he's at, to be that consistent with knowing what we stand for.
It is. And, we talk about it all the time, right? It's the model. I've referred to just a lot of just shenanigans that have been going on around us. And I keep defaulting back to the Warren Buffett question. And you can tell, I mean, you were there, so you can tell about it from Shareholders, Berkshire, where they were asking about the Wells Fargo, I think it was Bank of America or Wells Fargo incident, and his answer.
Right.
And so I think that's worth repeating. I don't think people can hear that message enough, because if you understand that concept, then you understand why things happen the way they do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was really interesting, seeing the format. They're marketers first and foremost. I mean, you got Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger down there. They're in their 90s, and they're eating, they're popping See's candies and drinking Coca-Colas, which is funny to see. Before everything started, they played a video that was just all about the investments at Berkshire Hathaway and all these celebrities endorsements of Berkshire Hathaway. It was incredible to see how much had gone into like marketing. It's a market. I mean, that the shareholder event is a marketing event for that company, for Berkshire Hathaway. But they allow people to ask questions, and as you mentioned, at that time, Wells Fargo had been in the news for some major issue that had happened with creating fake accounts, so that their reps were making fake accounts at Wells Fargo in order to win some type of benefit advantage of some sort. Might have been monetary, it might have been a trip. I can't remember what it was, but they had, they were getting slammed pretty hard for that. And somebody asked the question, like, what bank are you going to move to, now that Wells Fargo, with all this going on or whatever. And they said, and he didn't even skip a beat. He's like, well, he was like chomping on, smacking his gums on, eating chocolate. He's like, well, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Wells Fargo is a great company. He's like, whenever something like this happens, we always go to, first thing we look to is what drove the behavior? What was it? What was it that drove that behavior? And generally speaking, he's like, all of our companies are going to make a mistake. We'll get a phone call tomorrow. One of the companies we're invested in is going to do something stupid. He's like, but we don't really judge the company based on that. We judge, we just look for what is it that drove that behavior. And generally speaking, it's usually something, a mistake that was made in how we drive, how we compensated. And so he goes back to that. It was just he did instantaneously. It's one of his number one things the more you study about Warren Buffett. But compensation drives behavior, and in that case, it drove bad behavior because they were able to create fake accounts, and those would still count as far as everybody is. So it wasn't that Wells Fargo was a bad company; it was just that they had a bad compensation model in place for this particular whatever thing they were doing. So it was cool to see how he went straight to that. Right out of the gate, compensation. I think that's one of the biggest advantages we have at EXP is the way we have aligned compensation to behavior. We, if you want us to all help agents add value, continue to come up with ways to add more value to the agent base, then when the compensation's aligned, that's what you get, and that's what is really unique about EXP.
100%, and I'm so glad. I mean, you nailed everything in there, and really focusing in on, what is the behavior you're wanting to drive. And so how are you aligning that compensation? And, it's just always a good reminder, what's the desired outcome we're after. So how do you align that? And I think that's one of the most brilliant things that Glenn was really able to accomplish, because it's created an environment to where you have the collaboration that we're all, have been thriving for. that usually lives in a silo. So the example that I give and talk about quite a bit is that when we were rocking, the NAEA mastermind, it was exclusive. That's where you felt you can come in, and be transparent because you were in a safe place. But that's kind of a forced isolation for collaboration. That's just not a large on scale environment that allows for collaboration. Right. And then you get into the franchises. When we were rocking it at Caldwell Banker, like sometimes it was hard to even go in, and not everybody would even share their best stuff. They thought they had secret sauce, and it's like, it's just kind of forces that behavior. And I think when you look at any other model, even being independent, because that's what we gravitated to. I still believe, there's EXP and there's independent. And so it's understanding that even in the independent space, you're still on an island. And really being able to to understand, are you in a place that allows that collaboration, vulnerability, allow to build trust and just share? Because if ever, the more that everybody across the board wins, the more that the company wins, the more the agents wins. It's just a win-win-win all the way around.
Yep. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is. It really is. And, you and I used to bang our damn heads against the wall, and I vividly remember this conversation with Cindy Featherstone Shields down in Tyler. And I remember she was trying to make the transition and what she was going to do, because, she was in a long-term, 25 years with one particular franchise, and that was coming up. She wasn't going to renew. And I just asked her the question. I said, Cindy, do you truly care about your agents? And she goes, more than anything. She goes, I rack my brain. How can I add more value to them? And I'm like, there's no other model that allows you to add as much value.
Yep.
We went independent because of that, right? We're like, hey, we've got this broker split fee. We've got this royalty fee. We've got this fee. We've got this. Man, we can take those dollars and reinvest. I just remember every time we would go into strategy, we would always talk about what else can we add value to our agents? What else can we do? And, it comes down to independent model, all these other models. There's just not enough money left at the end of the day to be able to reinvest back into value add for the agents. That's why when you say, traditional brokerages are broke. Like, cuz what's you've seen so many of the P&Ls, and especially on the larger brokerages. I mean, like, what were they operating on profit wise?
Man, I mean, it's they're either in, if they're under 80 agents, they're in production or they're not making any money, generally speaking. That's what we tend to find. And, even above 100 agents, it's difficult to, it's really difficult to maintain and manage the recruiting numbers you need to hit in order to get to not be losing some of your best people. You're always got to be recruiting. And if you're not in production, you're still not making a whole lot of money. And so the margins are pretty thin, unless you're in, average sale price of $1 million or whatever, that, those numbers change a little bit. But generally speaking, we know that, they don't have to tell us the numbers. You kind of already know they're barely getting by if they're depending on what their split structures are, or they're babysitting a bunch of, new agents that are not doing a lot of production. So they're just not, not a lot of production that's happening. Yeah. But yeah, it's a challenge. It's really a challenge if you're an independent that didn't come from building your own personal brand, right? If you built your own personal brand, you've got a little bit of control because you've got inbound. You're in control of the lead generation. If you're not, if you're just a traditional, independent brokerage, your agents are producing for themselves. You're not producing for them. So, that's where, it gets two different kind of paths that people are down. If they're just trying to, create lead generation and training and add enough value to keep agents or get agents into production. And then the ones that have figured out how to produce and have survived long enough that want higher splits, they're not going to stick around very long if those splits aren't what they need to be. And the other companies that we see, the Weikerts of the world and some of these other companies, they have very strict contracts in place, huge legal teams to try to hold your feet to the fire. You go to zero commission if you try to leave. Like, they're not trying to help the agent. They're just trying to survive with a broken model. And they get new agents into the business, they survive, they give them a handful of deals, and then if you leave, you got to go walk away with zero. No, anything you have under contract, you lose. I mean, we've had people move over to EXP leaving $100,000 on the table, and that's really hard to do. But if you're giving away 30%, then it kind of makes it hard to stay too.
Yeah, and it's you look at those models, it comes back to it's not what's best for the agent, it's what's best for them, and man, that's real hard to win long term when you're only worried about yourself winning instead of making everybody else around you win.
Right.
And and that's we fell in that school of thought, right? How can we help our people win more, win bigger, and win faster? And then you got to kind of checks and balance on the business side of things. How can we make this math work, make sense? You just, at the end of the day, it's real hard, especially when you're in a beautiful 120,000 average sales price market.
Well, you did it better than anybody I know has done it, and you ran it up to 22% pre-tax profit without either of us being in production. The benefit we did have is we had our own, we had a lot of inbound, right? So we had a lot of inbound traffic that kind of drove our brand and drove, kind of the heartbeat of the company. But at the same time, getting agents into production and improving their production is always a challenge.
Yeah.
It's always a challenge.
Goes back to what you just said, and this is important for everybody to get, especially moving into this new phase of the market that we're all about to experience over the next 3 to 5 years. Is that if you are not intertwined deeply into your community and building a brand and having a presence, I don't think you're going to survive. I don't think it's possible.
It's going to be way harder.
I tell everybody too, when I had met you for the first time in October of 2004, I already knew you. Like, and it's crazy, small town Lawton, Oklahoma. Like, we never really crossed paths or really ran into each other, but I knew you because on my way to take the kids into school or something in the morning, I heard you on the radio. You couldn't go down any of the major thoroughfares without seeing your billboard. And so it's like I already had a relationship with you. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing as well with, embracing content for so long. And as agents are coming and really, reaching out and running into you, especially in the, they're like, shit, bro, I've watched, I don't know how many hours of your content. Like, I know you.
Right.
And if you're not embracing that and putting out content and being real, being vulnerable, putting out things that are benefiting your target audience,
telling stories, and especially right now, educating, people don't know what to expect. They don't know what's coming. They don't know, they don't really know what the market's like for the most part. They have their perception, but it may not be reality. But continuing to tell stories. Yeah, I met with a client, that bought their house. They had X amount of equity. But the inventory's been climbing, so we put it on the market. They needed it to get sold. You need to tell those stories so that people can relate to, the importance of having expert advice in a shifting marketplace. It is the most important.
And if you're an agent that's been in the business 3 years or less, I heard an astronomical statistic. I don't know if it's true, but it was like, I mean, if you're one of those agents and you're not plugged into a team, or you're plugged in with somebody that rode 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you better get aligned. Because you don't know the days of you being able to just put a sign in the yard and think you're going to get multiple offers without following best practices. It's over. And so you've got to make sure you're aligning with the people that have had experience in things that shift and move. And understanding understanding if you are struggling, this is, I know, cuz you would recommend this to anybody. Horowitz book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things.
Yeah.
And one of the key nuggets out of there that we embraced. I think it's just instinctively how we did. I always tell, I was like when you got to go collect and get $1,000 check before you can take somebody's listing, because you need that to cover, to keep the bills paid for that week. Like, the point is in the book, what Ben says is that you always have a move.
Yeah.
The only time you don't have a move is when you quit.
Yep.
And so just making sure, if you guys are 3 years or less into the business, make sure you're aligned with somebody that's been around. You're either coaching with them, you're mentoring with them, you're on their team, but you need to have somebody that's had some experience in a shifting, changing market.
Absolutely.
What's up, everybody? Man, thank you guys for jumping in. I know Jay's getting a little break. He's got a lot of family running around the casa and all over the island. I'm loving seeing. I saw Riggs what were they, creeping up on the ducks or something? He was just kind of.
He was trying to sneak up on them. But we got these things. They're called chiduckins. They're ugly. They're real ugly. But the little ones are pretty cute. But anyway, they try to chase them down and catch them. They did catch them, actually. But they're having a good time.
It's so funny. But it's good stuff. But I just can't stress enough making sure that everybody's really thinking through and making sure, are we following all the best practices? I's dotted, T's crossed. Are we really doing the things that we need to do? Are we going deep? What's our plan to be intertwined in the community? And I'll say that positioning that we took in that probably, what was it, 5-6 time frame, where we all made the commitment to go deep into the community. I think that was probably one of the best decisions that we ever did, because of the doors it opened and the relationships that it secured.
100%.
Yeah. So important.
I don't know how you do it without having those deeper relationships with influential people. I mean, it's not easy.
Mm-mm. No, and I mean, you think about even what we did going into Frisco, and the first thing that you and Mikey did, right? Get intertwined into understanding the inner workings of Frisco and connect it with the mayor and connect it within kind of understanding and starting to secure those relationships was key as well.
Mm-hmm.
What a fascinating city.
Yeah, no doubt.
Unbelievable. What's going on in the market there? I know. How's the house? What's going on there?
This market, we're seeing $1 million price reductions every day. And that's not enough. I mean, I think that, they just overshot, when you think about, most of the people that, that are living at least in this community, it's, not everybody. Well, a lot of people, I mean, I can go through and just think of the people that I know, and a lot of them are marketers. A lot of them were marketers that were selling mortgage leads, and so refinance leads. So I know 3 people that were doing that. So their income shifted when the market shifted first, right? So, it's real expensive to live here, and things got astronomically expensive to live here, as if everybody was a billionaire. And this is not the case. There's a lot of folks here that are just barely able to kind of get into the neighborhood and trying to make ends meet and trying to make it work. And they priced everybody out of the neighborhood. So a lot of people have left. And so that's, it was kind of, I've been calling it, it's one of those things, like, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I think I'm right. And
maybe right.
To be right. I mean, I wanted to be right. I didn't want a $5 million house to cost $10 million. So, like, for me, I was like, I just don't think, I don't see that. I don't see that kind of.
You called that shot over a year ago.
Yeah. I was way ahead of it. And I think, I was, I think I was more hopeful, than I was, right. But it's interesting to see, these $1 million, price reductions. That's a huge number. You still see a bunch of stuff overpriced. Of course, there's no MLS and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think anything is selling. Like there's nothing selling because, even a golfer, which is the smallest house in the neighborhood, is still selling. They're still, 5 million or more, which, I'm just, I'm not going to buy one. I'm not. So especially not going into the next 3 years. I'll wait until there's blood in the streets.
That's right.
Give me a hurricane and some blood in the streets, and that's when I'll be an interested buyer. It's just the top of the market. You ever listen to Patrick Bet-David?
No, I haven't.
Really interesting. You'd like him. Patrick Bet-David. I think he either has or sold an insurance company for a ton of money. And for some reason, I want to say it had some kind of component to it that was similar to EXPs, but real interesting guys. I think he lives in Dallas. He's got a great podcast and stuff, but he put out some good content. And he was just talking to me. He was like, if you're buying a house, right now, you're better off waiting 18 months. You got two choices. You can buy it now at a lower interest rate, but you're going to pay more than what you would pay 18 months from now. And so if you can wait 18 months, you're going to buy it. You're going to have a higher interest rate. Your payment's going to be the same probably, but you can refinance in a few years after, the market goes back to, improves at least a little bit, and interest rates will go down, and then you can refinance it for the remainder of the term or whatever. So, but that was just what he was encouraging. I'm starting to see more and more people making those kind of suggestions, and really trying to get people prepared for what's going to be 8% interest rates like we saw. We saw that back in before, but before, like, was 01, 90, 99, 2000, 01, we got close to 8%, and I don't remember what year that was, 07, 8, 9, maybe 10, I can't remember. But yeah, so it's this is something we've seen before. It's not new. And so that's that, and then job layoffs. We'll see a pretty ugly falling out here. This inflation has been bad. It's been really bad,
real bad. And what was it? What did the report just come out? 8.4. Yep,
another 40-year record.
So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. Did you see Dwayne's post on Facebook, kind of talking about, hey, just wait? I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I keep seeing other really smart people that are feeling and saying the same things, right? And,
yes.
And people who have been through it.
Yeah.
So I'm stacking cash. That's what I recommend. Stack it. And by no means, what do you, if you've got your money in the market, that's the thing about a lot of people here. It'd be too. I had a lot of money in the market too. Half of my net worth goes away. When half of people's net worth goes away, they make different decisions. They make different decisions because they're not thinking long term, like, hey, it's going to come back, which it will. You just keep investing and keep that long term vision in place. But man, when even me, I pucker up. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to make any big moves right now. There's too much uncertainty, and so as much as I like to see the in these lower valuations of these companies that that you want to invest in, I don't know that we don't know where the bottom is, and if interest rates go up, it's only going to cause even deeper recession. So you kind of just better off sitting on the sidelines, which is what I'm doing. I'm holding my ducats and waiting.
Yeah, patience. What did you go down the NFT rabbit hole anymore? And the reason I ask, I had dinner last night with a gentleman that's what their business they do. They go into businesses and everything's customized based upon what they do, and they help them craft NFTs for their business, and understanding and this is what he said to me, and it's just like what you said. It's just like, this is a long-term play. And I know you and I had kind of the conversation, like, this is kind of what we could see that could happen with the NFTs as it pertains to real estate. Have you gone down any more rabbit holes or any more thoughts or conversations around it? Not
really. I mean, I think, what I feel like is going to be the case is that, when you have a lot of extra income, you tend to, be willing to go buy this NFT and go spend, invest in some of these, non-traditional newer type investments that you don't really know. You don't really know. I would presume that a lot of that's going to dry up. A lot of that money is going to move out of that space and go back to additional things. Because it's not the major institutional investors that are making all those moves, and so I think a lot of that money is gonna dry up in a lot of space. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just unless it has utility of some kind, it's really hard to say. Where are you gonna put your money? I'm not buying $300,000 NFTs right now. I think that's extremely risky. So
yeah,
it is risky, but. There's some that have utility. I think that, that will always do well. But yeah, I haven't been studying it just because, I feel like my risk tolerance is a lot lower right now. So I'm trying to make sure, okay, where's the safe play again? I think I'm going to play that
let me go safe over here. Yeah, I'm with you.
It's not going to go away, but it's going to certainly, when a bunch of money moves out of the sector, you're going to see some different, prices are going to, and again, this is, making the assumption that we're going to see a deeper recession, which means, everything comes down. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's, to be determined. I mean, I think, the biggest opportunities, that I've ever come across came after some hard times. So you want to be prepared for that.
Yep. Yes, for sure. Being able to, brace and work through it, and, really making sure this goes back to, environment is greater than willpower. So just making sure, you're really being intentional with that life team and who you're surrounding yourself with, because you're going to need those multiple perspectives. You're going to need those networks. You're going to need those connections. And, it's like what we always say, asking for help is a superpower. So don't be, stubborn and try to muscle your way through it yourself. There's just a much better way, and really making sure who you're connecting with, like I said, has the experience, or has the connections, or has the relationships, or has the resources. You've really got to be intentional. I think that's the key word that I've kind of latched onto here lately is we all have to be a little more intentional with what it is that we're thinking about, a little more intentional with our activities, our day-to-day, and just stay consistent in that thought pattern.
Yep. No doubt.
Oh man. Cool. Well, I think everybody just kind of loved to tune in and listen to us chop it up a little bit today. So
yeah. No
didn't
question.
have many questions flying in, and I think it's goes back to what coach always says. People come to us lost, confused, and insecure, and our job is to give them clarity and gain some confidence. And I think people are just kind of, they're kind of like, don't know what to do. What I want your recommendation, what people need to be thinking about, what they need to be doing right now.
Get up earlier, work harder, cut deeper, get skinny. My biggest lessons going into a downturn that I say I would never forget is cut deeper and faster. That was, we're not really at that point where it's maybe time to do that, but you need to be thinking that way. And prepare. You can't outwork it. You can't outwork a downturn. It doesn't. You can't outwork it, but you damn sure better be trying to. So you better be putting in the work. You better be making the extra calls. You better be, building, the relationships, getting more involved in your community. All of these things, you need to double down on if you haven't been, and double down on creating content.
And it's, when you look at the offensive defensive side of things, I think what you just said, play defense here real quick. And like you said, hey, what do we absolutely have to have, and then cut everything that's not performing, or, that's not essential.
Right.
And then go all in on offense, on the activities that drive, like you said, connections on the relationships, connections in the community, creating content, day-to-day activities, creating engagement, having conversations. And you look back 2 years ago, to when, March, April of 2020, when all of that was unfolding. And we did the same thing, right? Hey, play defense here real quick. But the ones that separated themselves over the last 2 years, they went full throttle offense, and they didn't take their foot off the gas, and they thrived. And so I think that's the continued lesson here is like, hey, don't just play defense. Like, yes, for a second, but then what are the activities that are going to continue to move us forward? And like you said, double, triple, quadruple down, and just like be relentless every damn day. Do not stop. And it's going to be separation time. We've been talking about it. I mean, your talk from 2012, 10 years ago, on differentiation and the Darwinian. What did Dan tell you? Darwinian thinning of the herd.
Yep.
It's coming.
Yep. Yeah, I'm already, interestingly enough, I mean, I've had 10 agents. Let's see, what am I? I'm at 79, so 89. I was at 92. So I've dropped from 92 to 79 FLAs. So I'm seeing the numbers and the percentage of net growth start to slow down. So that's what's coming. I mean, and these aren't agents that were selling any real estate, but there's going to be a shifting of people out of this industry, and it's going to be mostly the ones that in terms of of your personal people that you sponsored, you better be staying in touch with them. You better be checking out on them. You better be making sure that they're getting plugged into things, and the ones that aren't doing anything won't be around very long. And
right.
If you don't want to lose agents, then you better stay on top of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's high touch, more communication. And, I think the default activity that most people think, I got to get my head down. I got to go to work. And, hey, we don't need to communicate. It's the exact opposite. You need to communicate more.
You need to check in on them. Make sure they're 100%. Doing all right.
Yep, for sure. Well, cuz, I look forward to this time. I cherish this time every week, being able to chop it up and hang with you. I know Albie joins us every other week. And so for you guys out there, man, hey, you're not alone. You've got us. We're here. This is what we're here for. So if you're hearing this message, you're stuck, shoot us a message. I mean, throw up a smoke signal. We don't care. Just engage, reach out, and we'll make sure to help you get unstuck. That if you're doing the activities, you're wrestling, you're getting stuck. Like, it's the theory of constraints. There's always a constraint. The number one constraint we usually see is the constraint in your thinking. So make sure that you're clear. You know what the objective is. You know where you're trying to go. And then it's like, who do I have to become to be able to move in that direction? What sacrifices am I willing to make? Conversation Coach had at the beginning of the year, he said, the number one thing that's going to get us through this year is your ability to sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice in order to reach your destination? And I think that's what a lot of agents need to be thinking about right now. Like, you've got some shit that you're going through, you're dealing with, you're doing. Like, what do you need to sacrifice to be able to move forward? Awesome.
Love it, man. Great calls always. Appreciate you, man. See you in Shareholders. See anybody who's Shareholders. We'll see you next end of this week.
See ya.
Yep.